Greetings and welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm glad you could be here. Before we begin, please take a moment to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and maybe drop us a comment down below. And while you're at it, go ahead and check us out over on Patreon. The link is in the video description and at the top of my YouTube page. Lots of cool stuff going on over there. And also, here's a shout out to my Tier 4 patrons, Russ of the Frozen North, New 5AC, and Nick. Thank you very much. Now, on with the story. Deathworld Origins, a story by Captain Meta 4. Chapter 1. Date point: approximately 65 million years before Vancouver. Classified facility near capital city, planet Agreus. Tanais, chief captain of the House of Codes. Tanais entered his office, having just returned from yet another useless meeting. He grunted and flopped into his chair. The war was not going well. Of course, the war with the Vostraki Empire had never been going well, but for some reason, today everything just seemed to be going even worse than usual. Perhaps it was the latest news that the Vostraki had leveled another colony with nerve jam, or perhaps it was the reduced functioning in the contract renewal from the House of Cannons, or perhaps it was the message that dinged into his communications implant as he entered the office. Hardly any progress on SuperSim. For this iteration, the subject rapidly developed extreme psychosis and launched a denial-of-service attack against the file share before being force-quit. See the attached report. SuperSim was the project that had taken well over half of Tanais' adult molt. It was a digital simulator intended to replicate a sentient brain right down to the neuron. Once finished, it would be able to run a conscious entity from a computerized system. It was a project that had been started over 40 cycles ago, with the goal of allowing one to escape the physical world. Which is why Tanais growled and dismissed the message. As the project lead, the SuperSim test model had come from a scan of his own head, and Tanais did not enjoy being informed at regular intervals that his digital clone had gone insane yet again. Ding! Appointment reminder. Call with Galactic Compact Science Development Board. Well, maybe that would go well. It was a desperate move, turning to the Galactic Compact for funding after his budget was slashed. Tanais activated his translation implant, licked his eyeballs, and put the call code into his communicator. 1 hour later. The call had not gone well. Tanais deactivated his translator and closed his communicator. As it turned out, it was very difficult to get grant funding for SuperSim when the fund managers weren't cleared to know the project specifics. Tanais growled and popped a supplement. He was quite sure he didn't actually need one, but the simulations made him paranoid. Still in a foul mood, he got up and left for the day. Moser's Bar, capital city, Agreus.
Bad day. Very. Want to tell me about it? Classified. Tell me about your day. Confidential.
This had become the weekly banter between Tanais and his friend Proam. They were spawn brothers, born out of the same pool of young. There was a good chance that they were at least genetic half-brothers. They had been inseparable during all 3 youth molts, until Tanais had been assigned to the House of Codes, while Proam had been taken into the House of Medicine. Now they got together at Moser's Bar to commiserate over bowls of methanol. There was a long silence.
Got rejected for funding, Tanais offered. The budget cuts haven't been friendly to us. The Vostraki are trying to undercut our entire way of life, so naturally the bureaucrats at the Compact decide to fund madness research instead.
Proam gave a light grunt, the Agrarian equivalent of a chuckle.
Hey, at least that means I have a job. Truth be told, some days I wonder if I'm going mad,
Tanais confessed. The simulation results were weighing heavily on his mind.
The Agrarian have spread over 15 planets, and across all of them, madness kills less than 300 Agrarian per cycle. Your skin is a healthy color, you're fine. That's not going to stop me from taking supplements, or trying to win this blasted war so we can focus our resources here. It's nature's cruel joke on us, isn't it? Eat properly, though, and you have nothing to worry about. It's still terrifying if you think about it too much. I don't know how you can stand it. It's just what I'm good at. Look, I can tell when something's in your head. Tell me.
Taneus sat quiet for a moment, trying to assemble words that wouldn't give away anything classified.
It's the simulation project. For the last 40 cycles, it's been going more or less smoothly. Even when I was brought on 5 cycles ago, steady progress. And the first 99% of it went smoothly. We were ahead of schedule from the beginning. 2 cycles ago, it gets complete enough that we can start preliminary testing. And the results? Well, I'm not sure how to say it. They scare me.
Preom responded.
Look, you can't let yourself get down. We haven't been making much progress on madness either. It's difficult enough to cure madness in a lab dish, and what little we can do wouldn't work inside the body. The House of Medicine has made huge scientific advancements, just to learn that we're stuck up against a wall. You just have to keep going, doing what you can.
Taneus sipped his methanol. He was starting to relax.
Yeah, I suppose it'd be easier with funding, though. Look, I'm sure your project just has a few bugs to work out. Be patient. Let your engineers figure it out. Today was clearly rough on you. I'm sure tomorrow will be better.
That made sense to Taneus. He licked his eyeballs thoughtfully. Tomorrow definitely could be better. Several days later.
Bug reports 64002 and 64007 have been closed. For this iteration, the subject rapidly developed schizophrenia, claiming to hear voices of its past incarnations. Subject was eventually force quit out of pity. See the attached report.
Taneus grumbled and deleted the message. This was getting annoying. A few days after that.
Bug reports 64004 and 64176 have been closed. For this iteration, the subject became listless and failed to do much. Subject voluntarily self-quit. See the attached report.
Well, that was new. Maybe the insanity issues had been resolved? A few days after that.
Bug reports 64037, 64092, and 64100 have been closed. The subject appears to be stable and successfully interacted with the researchers. Researchers also created their own test subject with similar results. See the attached report.
Now that was more like it. Taneus sent a message to Batone at the House of Cannons. She was overjoyed and insisted on throwing a celebratory party that same night. She forwarded the original contract to her comptroller, and an enormous lump sum payout, nearly 1 million galactic compact credits, was deposited into the House of Code's corporate bank account. With the simulation software working, final tweaks and optimization notwithstanding, all that remained was to trap at least one prominent Vistraki mind and load it into the simulation. 6 weeks later, Royal Communications Array, Outer Citadel, Vistrakth, Srakkel. Drasik, Royal Communications Operator to the Emperor. May his wisdom shine forever. Drasik stood by the incoming communications array, as he did all day, every day. That was his job. He had been assigned to it ever since he'd finished Royal Post-Hatchling Preparatory School. He was there to monitor the communications array and pass along any important messages from traders or travelers. Of course, this was a rare occurrence, but that didn't matter. Drasik was there to watch the array at the pleasure of the Emperor. May his wisdom shine forever. So that is what he did. When the printer started printing the second most devastating message to ever arrive in Vistrakth, Drasik was present and alert to receive it. Per his training, he notified the sender, Chief Strategist Batone, Agrarian House of Cannons, and the recipient, Grand War Master Vezek, and folded the message into an envelope. Drasik stepped outside and made his way through the streets to the gates of the inner citadel, from there to the gates of the outer sanctum. Drasik found the Grand War Master's chambers and hand-delivered the message. He would later regret this, but only for a few minutes before his death. For now, though, Drasik prided himself on following his training and fulfilled his duty to the Emperor. May his wisdom shine forever. A few hours later. Council Chamber, Outer Palace, Vistrakth. Vezek, Grand War Master to the Emperor. May his wisdom shine forever.
I am sure you are all wondering why I called this council meeting. Earlier today I received this.
Vezek passed the message around the table.
The Agrarian House of Cannons wishes to discuss terms of a peaceful resolution to the war. Why now?
Asked Shipmaster Gresh.
I do not know, but they want to send an unarmed diplomatic envoy in 5 days' time. Obviously, we should demand that they dismantle the atrocity that is their artificial intelligence program.
Vezek looked around the room. Werg, the High Counselor of Agriculture, an old Vistraki with little care for anything not related to farming, was asleep.
What other demands should we make?
Everyone, aside from Werg, began shouting over each other to give Vezek their demands for the Agrarian Alliance. 5 days later, Imperial Spaceport Outer Waste, Vstrath, Strakkel. Grandmaster Vezek stood at the edge of the landing pad, watching the unarmed Agrarian ship touch down. Behind him stood his private contingent of personal guards, armed with Geron rifles. Behind the guards were 4 destroyer tanks and 2 Geron tanks, ready to annihilate the Agrarian ship at any moment. The doors opened, and Chief Strategist Baton of the House of Cannons stood ready to meet him. She was dressed in an Agrarian hazard suit. Strakkel was a Deathworld, after all. Vezek smirked. The Agrarian was barely half as tall as he was. And that was their chief strategist? Baton licked her eyeballs and activated a handheld translator.
On behalf of the Agrarian Alliance, greetings, Grand War Master. We are honored and delighted to be in your presence.
The translator waited a moment, then repeated her words in Vistraki. Vezek held up the letter that the communications peon had given him.
The Emperor, may his wisdom shine forever, accepts the surrender of the House of Cannons.
I am grateful to the Emperor, may his wisdom shine forever, for any mercies he chooses to bestow upon us.
The translator struggled with the word mercies, but eventually was able to convey the concept in Vistraki. Parley? Vezek demanded the destruction of the Agrarian artificial intelligence programs. Baton countered with a need to reassign those workers to another function. There were several rounds of back and forth as Vezek found potential opportunities for them to serve the Emperor, may his wisdom shine forever, elsewhere. Then Vezek demanded a tribute, payable in galactic combat credits,
so that the Empire can engage in trade with the Galactic Compact.
Why not just join them?
Asked Baton. Vezek's face grew dark.
Undermining the authority of the Emperor, may his wisdom shine forever, is the highest heresy. Were this not a diplomatic meeting, you could be executed for even suggesting such a thing. We will not submit to the whims of the bureaucrats at the Compact.
Baton apologized for the offense and began outlining Agrarian economy.
Each major industry has a house. For example, the House of Codes designs software, and the House of Stars deals with extraplanetary mining and construction,
and possible avenues to supply tribute funding.
We have a bit of a budgetary surplus in the House of Medicine. We can take some from that without having to slow down our medical research.
The negotiation continued for hours.
The House of Cannons is going to be dissolved, Vezek stated. No more military for you.
We would like to keep our own smaller peacekeeping force in the House of Shields. As we saw earlier, we do have different cultural ideals, and it would be best if the laws were enforced by our own kind.
Only if the Empire has oversight and final authority.
Very well.
And the authority over your courts as well. Our laws will need to supersede yours.
There will be a few things that need to be changed, though. For example, your laws regarding hatcheries are incompatible with our method of reproduction.
Vezek blinked. Agrarian spawning pools were known throughout the Galactic Compact as being perhaps the most disgusting and repulsive means of reproduction in existence, at least to everyone who wasn't an Agrarian, and that was including the more recently discovered Abellum, a race of extremely clever and highly flexible slugs that laid fertilized egg cells in beds of their own digestive waste and covered them with their own mucus secretions.
Of course, he replied. We are willing to accommodate your biological needs.
The House of Hammers would be set to work repairing and improving the infrastructure of the city of Vestrak. The House of Medicine would take on research into Vestraki diseases. Vezek laid demand after demand into Baton until it grew dark. Baton drew his attention to this fact and brought the session to a close.
I will bring the demands of the Emperor, may his wisdom shine forever, to the High House. I am sure they will be eager to accept and avoid any unnecessary bloodshed.
Vezek was internally amused at the idea of unnecessary bloodshed, but he did not show it.
They would be wise to accept without contest.
Baton smiled.
I have faith that they will. Please convey our gratitude to the Emperor. May his wisdom shine forever.
She deactivated the translator and returned to her ship. Vezek watched her take off, then ordered his guards to escort him back to the city. Baton.
I will bring the demands of the Emperor, may his wisdom shine forever, to the House of Law. I am sure they will be eager to accept and avoid any unnecessary bloodshed.
They would be wise to accept without contest.
Baton smiled.
I have faith that they will. Please convey our gratitude to the Emperor. May his wisdom shine forever.
She deactivated the translator and returned to her ship.
Stupid Vestraki.
She set the ship to take off, then checked on the hidden scanning systems concealed at the side of the ship. Carefully, she extracted the storage device and immediately created a backup. Then she copied the data into an FTL communications buoy. Once Baton was safely out of the system, she launched the buoy towards Agreus. Hours later, classified facility near capital city, planet Agreus. Tanais. Tanais was thrilled. Baton's meeting with Vezek had been an unparalleled success. It had taken longer than they had hoped, but there was no way to conceal the mind scanners within the ship without significantly slowing them down. But now he had a complete Vestraki scan, and of the Grand War Master no less. They had been expecting the Grand War Master to delegate the meeting to an underling, but Vezek had come in person instead, and now the House of Cannons was waiting on SuperSim to deliver every last scrap of intelligence from Vezek's digital head. Tanais loaded up an elaborate digital environment, added a translation module, dropped in a copy of Vezek's file, and started it up. Then he loaded a fresh scan of his own mind and dropped it into the chamber with Vezek, and in doing so, condemned both races to extinction. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I am the Casual Deathworlder, your host, and this has been Deathworld Origins, Chapter 1. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. And believe me, I actually enjoyed bringing this one to you. This one was actually a blind read. I hadn't read this before, just decided to record it. So, and for the uninitiated, this is actually the prehistory of the Deathworlders universe. You get a little bit of a clue in this about what's going on here in the story Salvage, which I will not be reading. But yeah, this I think is going to be fun. I believe there are 8 chapters. I will look into that later. As always, a huge shout out goes to my editor, Gregor. Thank you very much, buddy. I could not do this without you. Now, question, who's got the question? Okay, I know. What is your favorite science fiction creature? Be it the Predator, the Terminator, some other creature from another story? Leave your answers in the comments down below. Until next time, be safe, be well. I love you all. Bye-bye.